So it's funny how during this post-colonial era of African history, over 50 African heads of state have been assassinated, the highest in the world. Most of these assassinations have been directly or indirectly carried out, backed and sanctioned by foreign powers like France, UK, US, Belgium, and even Portugal. But we can't always blame the white man for our problems, because we as a people need to start taking responsibility for our own action. So join me in this new series as we take a look at African head of state assassination and trying to understand why and how they were killed and the aftermath of their assassination. So please, if you not like this video, like the video and subscribe, because it won't hurt you if you do, but it actually hurt me if you don't. So like I said, like the video and subscribe, and let's get right into it. For my part, I would like to apologize here in the presence of his family for the way in which the Belgium government influenced the decision to end the life of the country's first prime minister. A man was murdered for his political conviction, his words, and his ideas. We start with the first assassination in Africa's post-colonial era, whose victim was Congo's first prime minister, Patrice Lumumba, which took place on the 17th of January 1961 at about 9:43 p.m. under the directive of Mobutu Sese Seko, but was backed and sanctioned by the Belgium, US, and the UK government. But for us to understand why Patrice Lumumba was killed, we must first look at his origin story. Patrice Émery Lumumba was born on the 2nd of July 1925 in Onoaloa, a town in the Katakokombe region of the Kassian province in Belgium, Congo, to François Tolenga Otsisima and his wife, Julian Wamato, who were of Tetala ethnicity. Lumumba went to a Protestant and Catholic mission school, and after that he worked for 11 years as a postal clerk and as a sales rep in Kisangani and Kinshasa, respectively. Well, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked, but when the world needed him most, he vanished. Nah, but for real though, everything changed and started moving fast for Patrice Lumumba from the beginning of his political career in 1955 when he became the regional president of a Congolese union. But shortly after that in 1956, he was arrested and jailed for 12 months based on some top charges of embezzlement from his time in the post office in Kisangani. He didn't relent though, and he became more active as he launched Congo's first political party, the Congo National Movement, alongside Joseph Kasabugu and others on October 1958. Well, we could fast forward after much struggle and he's in and out of jail based on that same struggle. The Belgian government had no option than to announce a program that would lead to the independence of Congo, starting with local election in December 1959. But the MNC and Lumumba boycotted the election, giving rise to repercussions from the Belgians, which led to the death of 30 people. And at this point, Lumumba was a thorn in the flesh of the Belgian government, and he was in prison again for inciting riots. But the MNC decided to compromise and they ran for the election, where they had a sweeping victory in the parliament. And at this point, the Belgian government had no option than to convene a round-table conference in Brussels with all the Congolese parties. But the MNC refused to participate without Patrice Lumumba. Like I said earlier before, Lumumba was a thorn in the flesh of the Belgium government, and this was simply because of his idea and what he represented. The truth is that, as of the time, there were few people that were so outspoken about the exploitation of the white man in Africa through colonialism and their continuous exploitation of African resources through new colonialist policies after independence. You see, in order to maintain an invisible control of the Congo and its resources, the Belgians had to install a puppet government that would be beneficial and guarantee Belgium control and monopoly over Congo's resources, and Lumumba posed a threat to the current status quo. So after much struggles and disagreements, Congo is going to be an independent state and Lumumba is going to be the first prime minister. But for me, I think or feel that Patrice Lumumba's Independence Day speech on the 30th of July 1960 was a nail in the coffin for Belgium to know that he had to be eliminated from the equation, because he clearly stated that this wasn't business as usual. And this was the point Belgium knew he had to go in order to guarantee their interests in Congo. And this is how it happened. Je vous demande de faire. So this is how it happened. You see, after independence, the country plunged into chaos and various mutinies sprung up, largely due to the objection of various policies, views, and current status quo. Like the rejection and objection of the Belgium commander General Émery, the commander of the First Republic, and his insistence of the military maintaining the status quo of pre-colonial Belgium, stating that before independence equals after independence. This whole disagreement actually resulted in the killings of Europeans, including the Italian Vice Consul in Kisangani. Approximately 24 Europeans were killed, and the Belgian government retaliated by bombarding and killing over 20 Congolese at the seaport town of Bitadi. And at this point, the tension was really high. Well, Lumumba had no option than to sack General Jason and started Africanizing the military by appointing Sergeant Major Victor Ludunla as a general and Joseph Mobutu Sese Seko as a colonel and army chief of staff, despite allegations of the latter being linked with the CIA and the Belgian government. After this, Lumumba and Joseph Kasavubu, the then president, then embarked on a nationwide tour to promote peace, but that only did little to nothing to halt the impending catastrophe. But this is where things start getting ugly, because on the 11th of July 1960, Moise Tsombo announced the succession of the mineral-rich region of Katanga from Congo. You see, Moise Tsombo had the full backings from the Belgian government, as the Katanga region was like the mining capital of Congo, and this newly formed successionist state with the Belgian army will certainly ensure the continuous interest of the Belgian government in Congo. But amidst all this chaos, President Kasavubu on the 5th of September 1960 dismissed Patrice Lumumba as the president. But this was contested by Patrice Lumumba, and discourse broke out between the two factions fighting for the legitimacy of each government. And as a result of this legal war between Kasavubu and Lumumba, Colonel Mobutu Sese Seko seized power on the 14th of September 1960 and later reached an agreement with Kasavubu in setting up a new government, thereby placing Patrice Lumumba under house arrest in Kinshasa. Well, as usual, the truth still remains that as of the time, or even now, no one gives a fuck about any African state, talk more of a newly formed African state fighting for the legitimacy of its government that don't even have the backing of a new colonialist power like Belgium or its corporation. You must be joking, right? Well, the United Nations General Assembly recognized Joseph Kasavubu government as the legitimate government after much lobbying from the Belgian government. But Lumumba didn't understand the level at which the Belgians and other foreign powers were willing to go in order to retain power and true control over Congo's resources. Well, personally, I feel he was a little bit naive and had wishful thinking, as he wasn't a fully pledged communist and at the same time hated the ideas of Western exploitations of the Congo. He was a kind of a naturalist. He didn't really have the full backing of any world powers. There was really nothing he could do apart from preaching about his ideas with no tangible actions or power to install that idea or bring that ideas to life. Well, Lumumba escaped from house arrest, which was under the protection of the United Nations. He tried traveling to Kisangani, where his supporters had more control, but unfortunately was captured by Mbutu's men on the 2nd of December 1960, where he was held in a military camp in Mbazangungu, but was later transferred to an unknown location. On the 17th of January 1961, Lumumba was delivered to the successionist regime in Katanga and its Belgian advisors, but Lumumba, alongside two associates Joseph Okito and Maurice Mpolo, were severely beaten even as they flew and landed in Katanga. Later that day, Lumumba, Okito, and Mpolo were executed by a firing squad under Belgium command and supervision, led by Belgian machinery Julian Gart, and they were later thrown into shallow graves, but subsequently were exhumed, hacked into pieces, and dissolved in acid. So we could fast forward 60 something years later, and Belgium apologizes to Congo. But the Congo is still suffering from what Lumumba was trying to fight against: exploitation. Lumumba was killed for what they felt he could do, and the possibility of him radicalizing the region to break free from the impending new colonialist agenda of the invisible exploitation of the African resources by the Western powers. He was killed because he was deemed a threat to the status quo of the Western exploitative foothold in Africa. Like, imagine if there were like 10 Patrice Lumumba in Africa. And that's why he was killed. They didn't want more Patrice Lumumba as president or prime minister in the newly formed African state. Well guys, I'm all out and I really appreciate you sticking with me to the end of this video. So if you like great content like this, leave a like and give me a sub, because it won't hurt you if you do, but it actually hurts me if you don't. So please, like I said earlier before, like this video and subscribe. Peace.